Hello and welcome to Citizen Earned, where I unpack what it means to be an American and what citizens' responsibilities are from the viewpoint of a naturalized citizen, i.e., an immigrant who came to this country and has become a citizen, gone through all the processes. In the previous episodes, I covered the first three documents, or rather, the three most important documents related to citizenship in this country. One being the Declaration of Independence, which was the promise of freedom. The second one being the Constitution, which is the manual on how to run the government to be able to deliver on that promise of freedom. Wow. And the third one being the Bill of Rights, an extension of the Constitution and an enumeration of this citizens' tools or their toolkit to be able to do their part to deliver on the promise of freedom. I also covered the Oath of Allegiance, which is an oath that naturalized citizens have to take, and within that oath, it contains the passage to defend the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and that's going to be really important later on. And related how the Bill of Rights has informed me as to my personal responsibilities and the things that I have to do to be able to deliver on that oath and that promise by using the Bill of Rights. I covered the First Amendment and facts, ideas, emotions, primary sources, secondary sources, a whole bunch of that stuff. So if you haven't seen that, there's kind of a lot already in the first few episodes. Today, I'm going to be covering the Second Amendment, kind of just systematically working my way down the Bill of Rights to show how it's a pretty cool guide to live one's life by. And I know it's contentious. It's okay. We're going to get through that. Don't worry. Oh boy, here we go. Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Number one, why did they write it in Yoda speak? A well-regulated militia. That's a terrible Yoda. I'm not going to do that again. But anyway, you understand the point. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Wouldn't it make more sense to say, nobody shall infringe upon the right of the people to keep and bear arms so that they can guarantee the security of a free state, even up to the point of organizing a well-regulated militia? It's all discombobulated and backwards. Now, I don't know why. There's lots of people who think that they know why. There have been many books written on this particular amendment. It seems to be a very controversial and contentious amendment. So I'm just going to hit on the things that are pretty obvious. Number one, it ends with shall not be infringed. It doesn't say specifically the government won't infringe. It doesn't specifically say the police forces or the security forces won't infringe. It doesn't say other citizens won't infringe. It doesn't say another country won't infringe or will be doing the infringing. It says shall not be infringed. And we know that the Bill of Rights is an enumeration of our rights. So maybe what the Founding Fathers are pointing toward is the fact that you can't really keep away the ability for people to defend themselves. You can keep certain objects away from them, but they're going to defend themselves using whatever it is that they have access to. Back in the Dark Ages, if the king didn't step up and defend his subjects, sorry, I haven't had my coffee yet, then the villagers would have to defend themselves with pitchforks and whatever they had access to, and they're going to grab any tool that they can to be able to defend themselves with, right? So the Second Amendment is simply stating that the citizens should have access to the right or the same kind of objects that the government has access to, so that they can protect themselves against any and all possible oppression, including possible oppression from the government. Back then, things were a little bit more clear cut. It was a much more physical world. There wasn't all this confusing digital space and this control for information, and so it was a little cleaner. If you wanted something, you had to physically go take it, which means that you could physically guarantee its safety by making sure that other people couldn't take it. And so freedom was a physically tangible thing. Through technology and the internet and all of that, that idea and concept has become a little muddled. But there is still something that relates very directly to the Second Amendment, and that is our physical security. Arms. The ability to use arms, even if it's hand-to-hand combat, self-defense, arms, right? Somebody tries to hurt you, you say, no, stop, and if you've had training, you can use these to block punches, get out of chokeholds, whatever, and then punch back. There are many different martial arts schools which would love to teach you this. The point is, arms, there's an interface, right? There's an interface with reality, and there is a posture, a defensive posture, which keeps good people safe in the act of defense, right? So, Second Amendment, I think, at its core is simply trying to say that the citizens need access to the same tools that the government has to be able to defend themselves as effectively as possible against any and all possible threats and infringements on freedom. Now, this gets really complicated once we actually start talking about weapons and the progression of weapons and weapons technologies and so on and such forth down the line, and the various controls that have historically been implemented on all of those weapons. But that's a different episode, because this is simply about the Second Amendment. What I would like to highlight, and which nobody ever talks about with the Second Amendment, is it doesn't matter how many guns you have or how much ammo you have or any of this stuff. You can't defend yourself or your loved ones or be a part of a well-regulated militia or any of this stuff. You cannot implement the Second Amendment if you do not first maintain your combat chassis, i.e. the body, right? You might feel more comfortable having a firearm. You might feel safer if you have a firearm, if you carry a firearm. But if you don't train and know how to use that firearm properly, maintaining your own body as the platform which that firearm is mounted to be able to be accurately and precisely directed to be able to do its job when it needs to do its job, you're kind of mired in a false sense of security. So I postulate that more important than guns when we're talking about the Second Amendment is fitness. For a moment, let's stop talking about the guns and let's talk about how to effectively defend ourselves and how the Second Amendment is letting us know that we can defend ourselves if we need to. So, don't buy another gun, or rather, if whoever's watching this, if you like guns, don't worry about buying another gun. Don't obsess over whether it should be a 9, 40, or 45. Get out there and go jog. Do some push-ups. Do some sit-ups. Do more tomorrow than you did today. And keep doing it over and over and over until this combat chassis is worthy of having a weapon mounted to it. In fact, turn these bits and all of the hard parts and all of the joints into weapons themselves. Then guns might not even be necessary. On the other hand, if you're watching this and you don't like guns, stick with me, because I guarantee you I have a slightly different perspective on this whole thing than what you have heard before. Thanks for watching. I think that's enough. Have a great day, and I'll see you again soon.